Thanks, Heidi. Lieutenant Roy. It's one who didn't outrank you. Send you home.
I think they are waiting.
Well, good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name's Richard Cruz, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Chief Petty Officer Mark Robinson. Today marks the centenary anniversary of the Battle of Magdabar in the Sinai Desert. This evening we'll hear the story of Trooper Alexander Nairn, who was a casualty of this battle. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by visitors to the memorial. Could I ask you to please stand and join in singing the National Anthem? If you're able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations over more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Trooper Alexander Nairn. Alexander Nairn was born in 1887 to John and Elizabeth Nairn of Brangor, Victoria. He attended the local state school and went on to become a farmer like his father. Little else is known of his early life until he enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force in July 1915. Nairn underwent a period of training in Australia before leaving for active service overseas with reinforcements to the 8th Light Horse Regiment in October 1915. He arrived in Egypt as the rest of the AIF was evacuating from Gallipoli. Trooper Nairn was a quiet man who approached his duties conscientiously and quickly earned the respect of his peers. In March 1916, the 8th Light Horse Regiment joined the forces defending the Suez Canal for an Ottoman drive across the Sinai Desert. The regiment missed the Battle of Romani, which turned the Ottoman advance, but took an active part in following up the retreat as the Turks pulled back across the desert. On the 23rd of December 1916, the 8th Light Horse took part in an attack on Ottoman trenches near the village of Magdabar in the Sinai Desert. Nairn's friend, Sergeant Mann, later recalled, "We were in action the whole day, and Alex, in the short rushes we made, was alongside of me. He'd been through a storm of bullets that day, and once he and I were crouching behind a mound and a bullet landed just by his head. He remarked, 'My luck's in today.'" The Turks eventually surrendered and the position was captured. However, during the last charge, made with the bayonet, Trooper Alexander Nairn was killed in action. He rose with the others to fix bayonets, but unfortunately his did not fit properly in its socket. As he stopped to readjust it, a sniper shot him, the bullet going through his chin and out his throat. Sergeant Mann recalled, "A minute or so later, the trenches were captured, so unfortunately the victory came too late for our comrade. I have no hesitation in saying he was one of the straightest and purest living men I've come in contact with. A fine soldier, conscientious and trustworthy, and as game as any man I have seen. He has left a gap in the troops that will not be filled." The Nairn family received a number of sympathy letters from Alex Nairn's friends. Mr. Adams, Secretary of the YMCA in Egypt, wrote, "His sterling worth was recognised by all who knew him. It may be some small consolation to know that he suffered absolutely no pain. He died like a hero and the man that he was, fighting on behalf of righteousness and justice. No more glorious death was possible, and we all honour the man who has so nobly given his all." Trooper Alexander Nairn was buried in the desert by his mates. After the war, his remains were reinterred in the Kantara War Memorial Cemetery on the eastern side of the Suez Canal. His mother chose the following words for his headstone: "Dear, your grave I may never see, but you are never absent in memory." He was 29 years old. Alexander Nairn's name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, among more than 60,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Trooper Alexander Nairn, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall not grow old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them. lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you a very good evening. Thank you.